You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
All right, welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Eric Robinson for our weekly college football talk. And Ryan looks a little different today in the other it's Michelle Garmon is in here for Ryan Robinson today. And I'm guessing that most of today's podcast is going to be IU, Ohio State, and Notre Dame, Army, and what they have coming up. So, Eric, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here. I just finished a 12-hour shift. I've been working 12s all week, so we're gonna have a little football talk and get ready for the holidays.
I don't work 12-hour shifts all week, Eric, but usually my Mondays and Tuesdays go anywhere from, if I'm lucky, if it's kind of a downtime, 10 hours a day, but usually it's more long. I put in a couple 14 to 16-hour days back to back. So I can't imagine that doing that all week long.
Yeah, well, I'm down to one job right now, so normally I put in with the daddy-os and the catering, so we have some downtime until April, so I'm going to focus on red gold and college football for the next few weeks.
Well, there you go. Now, I hope now is Red Gold kind enough company to give its employees Friday after Thanksgiving off as well?
Yes, I'm done
Perfect.
until Sunday night.
Lots of college football to watch in the next few days.
There's a lot of football to watch, correct.
Let's start with the IU Ohio State game. I didn't think it was embarrassing for IU, but obviously first loss of the year.
I won't say it was embarrassing, but I don't think it was good. I don't think it was a good showing. Obvious reasons, the turnovers and, to come out and do what we talked about, how they needed to just take the ball the first time, go right down the field and score, get the crowd out of it, avoid third down and long. They were able to get the score, and then really I think it was a third down and 1.
And that was an erroneous penalty because Ohio State guy jumped off sides. They called Bamba for reacting, right. And that kind of could have been a momentum changer.
From that moment, nothing went right for Indiana. I mean, almost every play there for 2 or 3 series, it was not good. I don't think it was embarrassing. You eliminate some of the turnovers on the scoreboard. I think obviously the score is going to be closer, but I saw a lot stronger team, a lot faster team, and a lot more prepared and ready for the moment team in Ohio State than I saw in Indiana.
Well, yeah, obviously, and that game being played in the shoe was really beneficial for Ohio State. Program is, but now with these new scholarship restrictions, it's going to be really great because I do think that with IU, with what they have in place and the money they've committed, they're a lot closer to Ohio State now than they've been the last few years. And you don't always have to have the better talent on the field to win. Once you develop the players and you get that mindset that this is moment can't be too big for you. I look forward to it. I think it could become a big rivalry. I know Ohio State took offense to Kurt Signetti with what he said, but you know what? I was fine with that. I was fine with it when he said it. I'm fine with what he's done because IU was missing that. They were missing a swagger to their football program, and that's what I like. He brought in, it's kind of, I think he brought in the kind of a Bob Knight mentality without all of the, and that's kind of what the football program needed. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the direction IU is headed, with commitment to the football program and to Coach Sig. Ohio State's good. They're obviously, I think they're the front runner for the national championship. I'm not going to hand it over to them yet because I do believe karma has big payback, and I think Ohio State may have some coming. I thought they got a little bit of that last year in the Michigan game. Going back to what Ryan Day said after the way he attacked Lou Holtz after they beat Notre Dame, that was just uncalled for. I think their head coach, I will say this, I think Ryan Day has a little bit of immaturity in him. And that's why I say that. Now, that said, I am very happy because I do like one of Ohio State's assistant coaches very much. I like and they have a good run game and things, and their line and the way they're able to plug. There's a lot because of Justin Fry. He's done a great job. If you look at where he's done at the former assistant coaching lines, some of the linemen he's put in the pros and everything, it's pretty good. I really do like Justin, so.
Yeah, the direction of Indiana football is in good shape. I would agree. We've got the coach. He's proven. It was just I think it was a good learning experience to see, hey, where actually are we at this point in time with the program. And like I said, I still stand by, even removing the turnovers, we've got a lot of work to do, and that's good. We would all take 10-1. Who would not take 10-1?
No
It's
question.
amazing what they've done.
Yeah.
But,
And they're still in the playoff.
And I think they're good enough to
until
win.
this
I
week.
don't think they're good enough to win the national championship, but I think they're good enough to win a playoff game.
I said they could play with anyone. I think they had to play on the road at the home stadium of who likely, in my opinion, is going to be the national champion. So,
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think they embarrassed themselves. I think they didn't play that well, but they were competitive play to play with Ohio State, and Ohio State's clearly the better team. Come on. And Will Retherford has just walked in. We have a busy day of podcasting today because I don't want to work the next couple of days. So here we are. Welcome, not to the podcast, but welcome to the Stage 22, Will.
Well,
all right.
Eric, you're probably going to like what I have to say next. I don't think Ohio State is the overwhelming favorite to win the national championship. I'll tell you a team I think is rolling right now, and I think a team that could surprise some folks because I do think that home loss to Northern Illinois was huge, and I don't know if I'm a team that I want to play this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team right now.
No, I would agree. And finally, the talking heads I heard a few comments during the week that, hey, watch out for Notre Dame. Like, who wants to play Notre Dame right now? We haven't heard it since week 1. My opinion on Notre Dame is I think they are playing as good as anyone right now on both sides of the football. Their defense, I said, would be a top 5 defense. They're number 2 in scoring defense right now, number 5 in total.
I've said all year they
offense.
have the best secondary in the country. And even though they lost the one guy to injury, I still say Notre Dame has the best defensive secondary in the country.
Yeah, them and Ohio State, the top 2, hands down. No one else is even close. But yeah, they've had guys fill in this year.
Michigan's isn't close?
No,
Okay.
one player maybe. But collectively,
I thought collectively they've been pretty darn good. That's been keeping them in games.
Well, Michigan's, and that's the thing with Michigan. If they would be a much bigger contender this year, and that's why I don't like people saying that IU beat a bad Michigan team because it's
Well, they're
not
bad for
well,
Michigan.
it's a bad Michigan offensive team. It's not been a bad defensive Michigan team all year. I mean, they still have really top players there. It's just a bad offensive Michigan team.
All right. There is no concern for IU this week against Purdue. Any concern with Notre Dame and USC?
a few days ago, before the Army game, I had concern, but after watching them play another complete game, I've got total confidence in this Fighting Irish team. They are just playing as good as anybody, offensively and defensively. We're going to go out to USC, and we've had a double-digit win. I think only one single-digit win in our last 7 games. We're going to go out there and take care of business.
I think it could be a little bit closer because at this stage, USC has nothing to lose. I mean, their aspirations of contending, coming into the Big Ten, contending for a title, getting into the college football playoff, they're gone. So now their biggest game, their Super Bowl of their season, per se, is the fighting, is the Notre Dame game. So I do think they could give Notre Dame trouble early. I just don't think, Lincoln Riley got all the hype and everything for what he did with quarterbacks because of putting Hurts and Murray and everything into the NFL. But defensively, his teams have never been real sound. And I just think Notre Dame's offense is clicking. But I would say that I think USC, that game could be close, at least perhaps all the first half. But I do believe Notre Dame is going to pull away in the second half.
And any concern with Ohio State at home against Michigan?
I don't have any concern there. I think it's going to be a payback. I think Ohio State just can't wait to run it all over and run it up on Michigan this year. They owe them a couple. I mean, Michigan's got them, 3 years in a row? 2 where they would be the favorite, and one time they just totally shocked Ohio State. I don't look for this game to be close at all.
I don't either. Maybe a quarter. Just because it is such a rivalry game. Just like it wouldn't surprise me if Purdue came out and played well, played IU tight for a quarter. But I think in both,
I would agree. I think Purdue's going to come out. This could make their entire season. They're not going to win. I don't see any.
And I don't think they're going to end up winning.
They're going to come out and play for one quarter, Greg. You watch.
Yeah, and that's what I do. And I think, and I think with Michigan, it's kind of the same thing because those are bitter. Those IU, Purdue, Ohio State, Michigan, they're bitter rivalries. And you can see teams hang sometimes for a quarter, but then talent and coaching and everything takes over. And I think that's what's going to happen in both of those games. I think Ohio State wins by multiple scores, and I think IU IU is smarting from last week, and I think IU knows they have to win big to stay in that college football playoff hunt, and I think they will just demolish Purdue.
So what happens if Alabama and Ole Miss win last week? I think Indiana's like 13th or 14th right now, and they're not sitting at number 11. I don't think anyone.
Well, they're actually sitting at 10, but.
Well, on the seeding, I think they were 11 from what I saw.
Yeah, but only because of the way. And they need to do something different with that seeding too, because not every conference is necessarily the same. I
like it.
I just think, and I'm not so sure that, because actually they're right, because what it does is it punishes the way they've set it up, the brackets, because they don't reseed it. So it can punish you for having a bye because the best placed team is the number 5 seed. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the best placed seed.
And they're playing the team that's the 4 that supposedly, quote unquote, is the team that doesn't belong. So it fits. I think it works pretty well. I like the brackets.
I think Oregon's getting screwed.
Also, Penn State has Maryland this week, and Oregon a big rivalry game against Washington. Any concern with those?
Well, every time I say there's no concern, we'll have a weekend like we had a month ago when all kinds of crazy things happen. Anything can happen in a rivalry game. Oregon should handle business. I mean, Washington, Indiana pounded on them. Obviously, Penn State, Maryland shouldn't even be close either. But Penn State still has a loss in them. We talked about it last week. A lot like Notre Dame, they find a way to lose one by the end of the season. They got a 1-point win at Minnesota a week ago. So maybe Maryland, I don't see it, but the Penn State we know and the James Franklin we know and love says they're going to get beat one more time.
Well, I will say this. I do think, and if Penn State and Indiana play in the playoff, that will be interesting. But I think that Indiana is the better team.
I agree.
Because Penn State's offense is just not, and Indiana's defense is a lot better than what people want to give credit for. If you look, I think they had 3 defensive players up as finalists for postseason awards, and that just doesn't, normally happen. And that Kamara, he's a load. I mean,
yeah, he's an NFL. He's going to be playing on
yes,
Sunday.
he is, and
Aiden Fisher, another kid.
Yes, a beast, and perhaps the only defense that I've seen that has that, and I can't think name-wise, but is, Notre Dame's got the big, Cross got hurt, right? But they've got another big guy, and I can't think of who it is that is a disruptor like Kamara. I can picture his number, but I can't think of his name, so when you have that, and I know Penn State's defense is pretty good. Of course, Tom Allen is out there coaching it. And he, when I've always said this, when Tom Allen could just focus on one thing, or and he wasn't a bad head coach when he had good coordinators around him, to where, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where he could just, just turn it over to them and then kind of help on the defensive side of the ball. What hurt Coach Allen was when his really good assistants left, and he wasn't necessarily great at replacing them, but like we talked earlier, the money wasn't there. Now, of those two games, I would say that Oregon probably should look out a little bit more, and I say that because you're talking about two Pac-12 rivals. I mean, they've had some good rivals and some good games, and so that will be to me, that's an interesting game, because Washington's defense, again, you're talking about a team that's not bad. They have a decent running back. They new coaching staff, and big losses. Penix, the top wideout, players.
McMillan, who else?
Yeah, their top two receivers.
Adunze,
Yes.
Jalen Poole, their top three receivers. I mean, they had three top there. I mean, obviously Adunze was a top 10 pick, and then Polk and McMillan were both second-round picks. I mean, you had three, top 2-round receiver. I mean, their offense is going to go through a lull. I mean, but that team was always built that team last year was built to be they were an older team, a transfer team. They were built for that 1 year, and then they kind of knew that was their chance.
Yeah. And I think when you look at, like I said, Oregon and Washington, that's another IU, Purdue, Michigan, Ohio State type of game. The key for Oregon is because, am I not right? Did they had one of their running backs, one of their offensive players was injured? Because did he not miss the game that they didn't win by very much? But
I'm not sure.
I thought he was out, and they were expecting him back, and I think he's back now. But it will be interesting because Oregon's got a lot of they've got a lot of pressure on them. Of course, they don't need to win because they're in the Big Ten championship game anyway, and they'll be in the college football playoff. And now it could affect them though, because if they would lose that game, and then they would lose again to Ohio State with 2 losses, that could drop them down a little bit farther.
I think they're probably a lock to get in.
Oh, I think they're locked to get in. It would just hamper their seeding a little bit.
Dan Lanning's a maniac, though. I don't think they're losing. I really don't.
I don't think they are either.
I think they're a team of destiny. I just think that team is very well coached. I think they have a lot of talent. I know Dylan Gabriel's not probably an NFL guy, but I mean he's a great college quarterback for the way the college game's played. So I don't. They need to run the ball more. They play through their run game. I think with Jordan James, he's a great back. I mean, Tez Johnson could be a first-round talent. I mean, I watched him play live, and he's real. His speed is outrageous. I can't even describe it. So we'll see. I don't expect them to lose. I expect them to win by just punish them because they lost to Washington twice last year. Obviously, the last Pac-12 championship game they lost during the regular season. I would expect them to pummel Washington.
About 3 scores, right?
Yeah.
At least 3.
I think 3 is generous. I think it could be 4 or 5. If Washington comes out and lays an egg, it's going to be real ugly.
That I will say this. That's the one great thing, though, about the way it's set up, and you talk about the rivalry week, and with that, for Ohio State and Oregon, they're both playing teams that they're not going to look past to the Big Ten championship game.
Tennessee
neither
either.
one.
I mean, I think Tennessee's the team that I don't know if you guys have talked to them. I think they're the team that has the best chance to lose playing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a good team. Diego Paiva's a good quarterback. Like that is a team. That's a huge rivalry. I mean, I went down and watched Ball State play there this year. I mean, they hate. The first thing they said was, "We hate Tennessee." I mean, they would want nothing more than eliminate Tennessee from. I mean, it's the same situation. They've got a bowl game. They've got 6 wins already.
Personally,
I'd
like
to play spoiler.
Personally, I'd like to see that. I don't know about you, Eric. I don't know if you're on social media. I think are you on yet? Yeah. Tennessee fans, I think, may be some of the worst fans out there. I mean, they sit there and they're talking about their team, and I'm sitting there going, I haven't seen you haven't impressed. Anytime I've watched you your team may have won, but you have not impressed me. I don't sit there and say, oh my gosh, wow, you're just a juggernaut, or your offense is explosive, or their defense is. I'll hand them this. Their defense is pretty good, and and granted, Neyland Stadium is pretty, it's pretty wild with all the orange, the checker, and it's a great place to play, but I don't think that they're necessarily the big bad boys that their fans think they are.
I think we might find out that the SEC in general is not the big bad boy we thought they were.
I don't think they've been to be honest, for the last 2 years. I think Georgia and Alabama and maybe Mississippi or something, but I think overall, I don't think they are quite as good as what they have been in the past. And I know Nick Saban says, he left because of a lot of the players, but I'm not so sure he also didn't. I mean, he sees the writing on the wall going forward too, and he can't. When you also can't bring in all of that talent, and you're not going to get all of that talent now, the transfer portal and everything transfer portal's probably done more to hurt the SEC than any conference.
Okay, let's start with you, Eric. SMU hosts Cal. Penn State hosts Maryland. Miami is at Syracuse. Those teams are obviously teams that look like they're going to be in the playoffs. Any of those should be concerned this week.
Definitely Miami. I'm going to pick Miami to get beat, actually. The Syracuse offense and their quarterback, I think he's now officially number 1 in the nation in yards. I can double check that, but I think
that was Ohio State's quarterback last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I put Miami on notice right now. They're in trouble going to the Dome. Definitely. Penn State's not going to have any trouble. Although we mentioned when you were away for a second there, we did mention that Penn State still has one loss just because that's what they do. But I don't think Maryland can beat them or even really keep it close. But definitely upsets. We talked about Tennessee, Vandy. I like Vandy at home, and I like Syracuse at home, knocking off Miami.
Yeah, Miami, that chant overrated, fits them perfectly. They have Cam Ward, and don't get me wrong. I mean, the Hurricanes have been, I know years ago, were a national power, and everybody's been wanting them to get back there, and they're closer now than what they've been, but they're not that dominant team.
Everyone they've played this year has played with them.
Yes.
Everyone has been in every game with Miami.
Whether they're poor,
late in the game, it's all Cam Ward's made the difference. They've been able to pull away late in these games.
And to me, that's kind of like the difference between where IU and where Notre Dame is now. I know people want to rag on IU a little bit, but because of their schedule, well, when you looked at the schedule before the season started, it looked, the national champion, the national runner-up, and it looked daunting. But here's the thing. They went out and beat all the teams that they were supposed to beat. They beat them pretty handedly outside of Michigan. And Michigan is not a slouch, and that was another game that, team that IU kind of traditionally has not played well against, but or finished the game against. I mean, they've played well in spurts and then not finished well. But Miami is the team that has not done that. I mean, they've let the subpar teams play with them. And like you said, and Cam Ward's had to pull them out in the end. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Syracuse get that win. I'm guessing, since ACC, I'm guessing Clemson is hoping to beat South Carolina and is really probably hoping Miami loses, because I think then that can open the door for Clemson to get into the college football playoff.
Right. Even with the loss to South Carolina, that's not a conference game, so Clemson would get in the title game versus SMU with the Miami loss at Syracuse. So it would hurt their overall ranking and seeding, but then they get in the championship game, and guess what? You win the ACC game, now you're a 3-loss team in the top 4. So
I love it.
Scratch your head,
I love it. I love the way they're doing it. I think it's fantastic.
And then just kind of going back, Kyle McCord is 200 yards, officially 200 yards ahead of Cam Ward at this point. So he is the leading yard gainer in the country for Syracuse.
Well, Kyle McCord, I love the story. I mean, I felt bad for him because I thought he took a lot of hits last year as Ohio State's quarterback, and for some of their, you know, lack of success. But it was his first year starting, and for the Buckeyes, and replacing, C.J. Stroud. It's not easy to do, and I thought he did a nice job. I'm glad to see him go to Syracuse where the pressure was off, and I think everybody gets to see just how talented a quarterback he is.
Before we get to our Heisman, I just want to point out that the Illinois State Redbirds, led by junior star running back Winkers Wright, is in the FCS playoffs this week. They are the 12 seed going to Southeast Missouri State. And when they win next week in the national quarterfinals, they will play, in the Sweet 16 it would be. They would go to fifth overall seed UC Davis.
Yeah, does this mean that Mr. Greg Mingel will be on hand live, doing a podcast live with Illinois State if they advance in these playoffs?
If they get close enough to here to where I can go to a game, then if Southeast Missouri State wasn't on a holiday weekend, I would have definitely considered it going to that. I think they're going to win that game. Their quarterback is playing well. They've got a receiver who might be an NFL guy. So very, very solid team. Winkers last week went over 1,000 yards for the season. He's just a few yards from 2,000 for his career with another year to play. So very proud of my very athletic and smart, by the way, he's already graduated from college, just a junior in eligibility, and he's in business school, so very proud of him. Anybody, thoughts on the Heisman Trophy race?
Let me start. First of all, I can be stubborn, and the Colorado loss is going to really hurt having eyes on Travis Hunter, and if they can still make the championship game, but they need a lot of help. But like I said, I think the Heisman should be the best football player in the country. This guy, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know the final snap count, but I know at one point he was over 120 plays during that game. There's no one even coming close to doing what he's doing this year. Ever. No one's ever done what he's doing this year. He's going to be a top 5 pick, if not the number 1 pick. I don't know what more a guy can do in college to win the Heisman than what Travis Hunter's doing. I think it'll be a shame to not see him in the playoff. It's going to be so hard for them to be in there, but I think he has to be in there just to make it just so much more exciting because he is must-see TV.
I think he's good. He is, and I do think he's good. I will not be disappointed, though, if the Boise State running back gets there. And I'm sorry, I have trouble pronouncing his name.
Genty.
Yeah, I get tongue twisted, so that's why I just call him the Boise State running back. Just because Boise State is a lot of where they are because of him. I mean, he is a durability, and I go back and I think when you do what he's done and the performances he's done every week, week in, week out, it kind of takes me back to when I really hated to see Anthony Thompson of Indiana lose out to Andre Ware of Houston in that. And but Giante, he is he's pretty explosive. So I would not be disappointed if he wins. I do think he and Hunter are by far the two leading candidates for that award, or should be, because I just think they mean a lot.
Here's my argument against Boise State and Genty. They played a ranked UNLV team. He had 35 yards. Boise State has not played anyone other than Oregon, which they lost in overtime to. Who's playing the better talent each week? It's no contest. Colorado. What's more important? What's more impressive? A 2,000-yard rushing year or a 1,000-yard receiving? I would say 2,000-yard rushing. I'm going against my argument. But now let's throw in a lockdown defender that plays every play on defense.
That's right.
I don't think it's close. I don't think the argument is close.
Well, like I said, but I do think those are the two runaway candidates. Do you not think Will? Do you think they're the two runaway candidates?
I think they're the two runaway. I think that if Genty somehow breaks Barry Sanders' rushing record, I think it's got to be Genty.
Yes.
I think it has to be. If he breaks it, it's got to be him.
Well, if he breaks it, because
Barry Sanders, by the way, did this against Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas at the time. He did it against really great teams.
I would argue that the only reason that Oregon game was even close was because of Genty. I mean, he was literally single-handedly put them on. I mean, I watched that game live and thought to myself, who is this guy? Like, incredible. He hits every hole. I think Genty's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft.
Well, and you talk about Colorado. Well, the Big 12 is not the Big 12. The Big 12, there's no Texas, there's no Oklahoma. I mean, it's not like the Big 12 has been in the past. It's still good, but it is not your Big 12 era of the past, like when Barry Sanders was playing and set that record.
I'm gonna say Hunter, unless Genty somehow breaks that record. I'm going to say it should be Travis Hunter unless there shouldn't be any other conversation other than those two. It's the only two that are, I think, within reason of having a conversation.
Oh, yes.
I'm interested to see what Hunter's going to do. I can't imagine at the NFL. I mean, you hear NFL players say, there's no way this guy can play both ways in the NFL. I'm excited to see which. I think he should pick receiver. I think he's got more money probably playing receiver. But we'll see.
The only reason he won't play both ways in the NFL is coaches aren't creative enough. There's no reason he can't play some plays on offense and some plays on defense and mix them up and make him the most dangerous player you can possibly make him.
Well, sorry, if you can be creative for Tim Tebow, you should be able to be creative for Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Now, here's the deal. There is a deal there. Though you have to remember, every NFL team has Travis Hunters. Not every college team has Travis Hunters. Listen.
No one had a Deion Sanders except for Deion Sanders, and Travis Hunter is on that list.
Right,
he's not.
But
Deion
what I'm
Sanders,
saying is
what
I'm saying is they do have that talent each side of the ball. That's why he can't play as many snaps in the NFL as he is in college. You're right, the creativity. I don't know if he chooses to be a wide receiver, if that's where they want him, I can see him being the dime guy on defense or the nickel guy, nickel or dime in certain plays. Now, if he chooses to be, or they choose him to be the DB, then I think he is your second and long and your third down receiver. So, yes, I think he can play both ways. He just can't play the number of snaps that he's playing college both ways at the NFL level. That's what I was getting at, because the NFL level,
no doubt,
they do have a lot of talent.
He's not going to play 125 snaps in the NFL.
Well, no. I mean, it just depends on where he goes too. I mean, there's I would like to say that there are. I mean, you're going to sit here and tell me that he's going to go run around with Jamar Chase for an entire game and then be effective on offense? Like, no. Justin Jefferson, no. I mean. It's a different caliber of, I mean, those guys, I mean, you look at Justin Jefferson and like Jamar Chase, like they could have won Heisman's. Like they're that level of talent. I mean, there are those guys. Every team's got it.
And can he cover those guys in man coverage repeatedly?
There's nobody that can. That's the thing. I mean, that's the thing about them. There's nobody that can guard them in man coverage. I've yet to see it. I mean, your only hope of stopping, it depends on where he goes. I feel like if he's in, I mean, right now, I think Jacksonville's got the number one pick. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the AFC South, I don't think they have an alpha one receiver. He probably could play a lot more, defense and. You
could move your car if you want to. The art's okay.
Okay. Play some offense. I mean, it just depends. I think that we're going to look back at this Heisman and say, this could have been the one that maybe changed it for being a quarterback award. I think that there's just these talents that it's showcasing that, other players are very important and the best players in the country. I mean,
it would be great because he'd be the first player since Charles Woodson.
One of them is going to be. It's going to be one of those two.
Well, yeah, it would be great to see him do that because of Charles. He'd be the last guy, defense kind of guy, and because Charles played some offensive snaps, he was like a third down wide receiver for Michigan, and if I'm not mistaken, he caught a touchdown pass, a few touchdown passes as well as some interceptions. Yes, so so in that respect, it would be great, and I think Travis Hunter is a really great player, and I won't shocked, and it won't bother me at all, and I do think he's probably the best player in college football, and I just said it wouldn't bother me if Genty won just because of what he's doing this year. But I do think those two, I don't think there's anyone else in that conversation.
Fun.
All right, guys, let's talk about the championship games real fast, and then Eric, you've had a rough week. You're going to get out of here, but let's talk about as things stand right now and what could be each conference championship. We'll start with Eric.
Well, in the ACC, it's going to come down to SMU, I think, is a lock to be in that title game. You're going to see probably a Miami team. I'm not impressed with Miami. We've made some comments earlier. I don't know if we were
All year?
If we were recording when we made some of them, but yeah, we've been critical of Miami all year. And I've watched SMU play a couple times. I'm impressed with them. Their quarterback, he's not Cam Ward, but he's pretty good.
Plus Eric Dickerson in the backfield.
Yeah, Pony Express.
That's right.
Yeah. No, but I think in the ACC, it's going to likely come down to Miami and SMU. Big Ten's basically set. Ohio State, Oregon, on a neutral field. That's going to be a game to watch. I think that's your national title game. My opinion. I think they're the two best teams.
Well, they could play each other for a third time.
They could, yes. So, I guess jump in here on the SEC if anyone wants to jump in. Right now, you got Texas in the driver's seat with the number 2 seed.
Not an easy game for them this week, though.
With A&M, no, it's not an easy game. But, and I know everybody, Eric, how about this? Everybody's laughing because they're trying to say, oh, well, Ewers, the MRI, if he doesn't play, then that means no college football playoff with him, right? Because you're number 1 quarterback. And I'm like, I know. You got to look at who's number 2 at Texas. And that number 2 guy is starting at a lot of universities this year.
He's starting everywhere, but at Texas probably.
And he should start at Texas. I said it. He's better than Quinn Ewers.
Awfully good. Ewers is awfully good.
Ewers
Yeah.
is, but my sister hit it because we've talked about this because she, that's her thing because she likes Lamar Jackson and says he's good, but she said, name me the big games he's really won. When he gets in a big game, can he pull it out? And she said, I think Quinn Ewers is that guy. She said he doesn't always play exceedingly well in the great big moments, and I don't think that would be Texas is in not a bad position because having Arch Manning being able to step in is not a bad thing.
Yeah, but hypothetical here, if Texas A&M pulls the upset and then they go to the SEC title game against Georgia and win there,
3-loss.
that is not good for Indiana. Indiana needs Miami to win the ACC. They need Texas or Georgia to win the SEC. If you allow Texas A&M in there, or even with the loss, I don't know if SMU falls out. Likely they're not going to make the playoff, losing to Miami in the ACC title game. But I think Indiana is going to be the first team that they kick out if one of these upset teams get in.
Well, I will say this,
or win
unless
the
you're a
title.
3-loss team that wins your conference championship, you don't belong in the college football playoff.
No, I would agree, but it could happen.
Oh, I know it could happen, but it should not. And it shouldn't come down to reputation because everybody's talked about that. And I've seen a lot of stats out there on the SEC, and they've had some really kind of not good losses as a whole, some of those teams, and reputation, and no one pushes the narrative more than ESPN because they show those college football. And I really believe that the NC2A, of course, they don't really control college football anymore. It's the two conferences that they need to have some kind of a thing to where ESPN has no leverage, or you cannot push. You've got to have good arguments, and instead of saying, well, this because they've beaten this. Well, who have they? They like to point out who a team's beaten. They forget to point out who the team's lost to.
All right, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that it's been a tough week for you. I appreciate you fitting us in.
Yeah, no problem. I love talking college football. As long as I'm awake, I'm usually talking about it or looking at stats and doing something college football related. I want to send you, I have a video I want to send to you and some pictures from our tailgate party too, if you want to put them on the Facebook page.
Will do.
My daughter, there's a video, I don't know, you'll have to decide if you can put it on there or not. There may have been an alcoholic drink in the hand, but if not on the Facebook page,
Is she 21?
she's 27.
Then I don't care.
Yeah, but there's a funny little cheer we do, and she kept pace and drank a beer at the same time. It was pretty funny. But anyways, getting off topic.
That's all right.
Yeah, but another thing, real quick, we didn't talk about the Big 12 title game is
Oh,
up
yeah,
in the
that's
air
right.
this week. So I know I'm a Colorado homer. I've been being a homer on them all year, but they need, for them to make the title game, they need 2 out of the 3 teams to get beat out of BYU, Arizona State,
Iowa State.
and Iowa State. And Iowa State plays Kansas State. So there's a good opportunity there. But this Arizona State team is scary good. They're coming out of nowhere now. They're already in the playoff picture. Like I said, but we need 2 of those 3 teams to get beat this weekend, and Colorado has to win, and then they would be in the Big 12 title game.
It'd be interesting for Arizona State because sometimes when you come out of nowhere, it's kind of nice, but then all of a sudden now you've got people's eyes and, there's more stuff out there, more film, more, your players, more bulletin board.
Like
And
Indiana?
how are they going to handle, yeah, and how are they going to, how are they going to handle for them a must, like a must win game. If they want college football playoff, it's a must win game.
Well, from what in the last couple of weeks, I think Arizona State is the best team I've seen out of the Big 12. In the last 3 weeks, Kansas is playing too good. They just started off so bad. They eliminated themselves the first month. But yeah, Arizona State. I don't think BYU is going to come out of that conference.
Eric, Will, Michelle, thank you so much. Eric, you and I will do this again next week with Ryan, of course, and we will know a lot more by next week.